All right, this is Unit 2-1, Introduction to Functions, some definitions that we've talked about in class really quickly. Just a quick review. We talked about ordered pairs. Ordered pairs is when you have an X, generally an X and a Y. It's two elements or items that you're putting together, separated by a comma. Both of those items are in the parentheses. Ordered pairs generally compare or put together an X and Y. So for example, our order pair is 12, 3, 3, -2, -4, -1. Those are four sets of order pairs. Next, we talked about a relation. Remember, a relation is when you have an order pair, but you have two or more order pairs and you group them together. So in this relation, we have a set of three order pairs. Our first order pair is 12, 9. Our second order pair is 1, -3, and the third is -9, 8. Again, 12, 9, 1, -3, -9, 8. And it's important to also know about relations. They can usually use brackets or braces at the end to group them with your order pairs. Okay? Next thing I need you to know, we talked about this also, functions. What is a function? A function is when you have a set of ordered pairs, a full set, usually a relation, because you need a set of ordered pairs. A function is going to have only one input associated with the output. So our input will be our X. These are all of our inputs, 12, 1, -9. Our output, when I put in 12, I get 9. When I put in 1, I get -3. And my input will be -9. I get an output of 8. So functions are when I have exactly one input associated with an output. And we'll go further than that in just a minute. Another way to call your X values is to call them domain. Okay? And domain are generally the first set of numbers, usually called, again, as I said, the X values. And in this relation or set of order pairs, our domain values are the 12, the 1, and the -9. All the X's are your domains. It's usually the first set of values in your order pair. That leaves your range. Your range are generally your your range are generally your Y's, which is going to be your 9, -3, and your 8. And we use, again, you can use brackets or braces, and those are different. It doesn't matter, just about a preference of what you prefer. And so your range is usually the second value, or your Y value, against the 9, -3, and 8 from this relation here. Okay? And again, function is when you have only one input associated with one output. It is also when you have only one domain. So one X can only go to one Y, or one X, or one domain to one range. So this will be an example. Actually, I'm going to move further and we'll talk about that part a little later. So let's look here. We talked about mapping. And when we map something, all right, when we map something, it'll look something like this. Come on, computer. All right. We have our X and our Y values, and as I stated, the X will be your domain and your Y will be your range. You will notice that each X has only one Y associated with it. So X, or our domain, 12, is associated with the output or the range or the Y. So you have three names. For the X, you can call it the input. It can be called the domain, or it can be called your X. The output is just that. It can be called the output, the range, or it can be called your Y value. So each X has only one Y, or each domain has only one range, or one input has only one output in order for it to be considered a function. And if I were to group these or make these ordered pair, the ordered pair would be 12, 28, 15, 30, and then 8, 20. This is also called a function. Okay, and there's our X and our Y. Moving a little further. I talked about this before. In addition to it, mapping again just shows the order pair. You know that. I've already listed these values. This is for this up at the top. This is your 12, 28, your 15, 30, and your 8, 20. Okay? These map pairs are one-to-one functions. I already said it's a function. Remember when I talked about function? Each x or input or domain has only one y or one domain, or excuse me, one range or one output. Okay? Here's another example of what we have here of a map data, -1, 1, and 4. And -1 goes to 5, 1 is associated with 3, and then we have 4 associated with the 5. So these are our domain values, -1, 1, and 4, and our range are 3 and 5. Okay, what do we call a function? And before we decide if this is actually a function, our ordered pairs, if we were to write this as an ordered pair, because -1 goes to 5, will be -1, 5, it will be 1, 3, and then 4, 5. Okay? And then next we have another example here. -3 goes to 0. -3 is associated with 6. You have 1 to 1 and then 5 to 6. Okay? These are our ordered pair values. And the question is this a function? Remember, you can only have one input going to one output. Well, this input, -3, goes to 2 different places, so this would not be considered a function. Okay? Let's look at the one right before. I didn't talk about that. Okay? Let's look at this one here. We have -1 input only to one output. Well, I have one input, and it's going to 2 different outputs. Does that work? This one actually is a function. This one is a function. Okay? You can have the y go to 2 different x's, but it can't go the other way around. Or you can have 2 ranges go to one, I said that the wrong way, excuse me. You can have the same y, but it can go to 2 different x's, or 2 ranges. One range go to 2 different domains. All right, and I just stated on this one here, -3, 0. -3 goes to 6. 1 to 1, 5 to 6. We said this is not a function because x can only be assigned to only one y. X can only go to one y. This -3 goes to 2 different y's, or this domain goes to 2 different ranges. The -3 goes to 0, and it also goes to 6. That does not work. Okay? Lastly, if I look at this relation with these 3 different ordered pairs, the question is this a function? If I have 2, 0, -3, 4, 2, 5, is that a function? And the answer is no, because the input 2 goes to 0, the output 0, and the input 2 also goes to 5. We cannot do that. One domain can only have one range assigned to it. So that does not work. This is not a function. Okay? Here's another example of a relation. I have 2 ordered pairs. It's 2, 1 and -3, 1. The question is this relation make a function? And the answer is yes. Okay? The y values, or the outputs, or the range, whichever way you want to call it, the y values can have 2 different x values. So 2, 1 and -3, 1 does form a function. So the y values, or the range, or the output can be associated with more than one x value or more than one domain value. That is still called a function, but it doesn't go the other way around. And those are your notes.